looking for me, but you look for trouble. You're gonna see that your words are dangerous. Your talk is cheap. You see me standing here, now I'm standing here. Don't question my heart. Don't question the fire that burns inside.
Hi, my name is Dr. Ray Muzyka of BioWare. I'm CEO and co-founder. I'm Group General Manager of the BioWare Group and Senior Vice President in Electronic Arts. And I'm here showing Dragon Age 2 right here at Gamescom in Cologne, Germany. And you're watching Gamona.de, and we make you play.
Ray Muzyka is the co-founder and CEO of BioWare, and we're going to talk about Dragon Age 2. The story of Dragon Age 2 is set to take place over a time period of 10 years. How will this work out in a video game?
Well, one of the points of innovation that we're really excited about in Dragon Age 2 is the concept of the frame narrative, how we're delivering the story. So you have a really cool character, Hawk is the protagonist you play as during the course of the game. And part of the game experience is from the first-person narrative perspective, where you're playing as Hawk. And in these moments in time, sort of these episodes where he has a major impact on how the world unfolds and how the events of Dragon Age as a world, how they progress. And then other points of time are sort of like the perspective of other characters in the world, kind of commenting on what their observations are, either prospectively or retrospectively, saying, I remember this moment where he did this or she did this, in terms of how that worked. And it's a very cool kind of reflection moment of here's what our experiences are, what Hawk did, and it's like, no, that's not how I remember it at all. That's what he did. So you go back to another framed moment, an episode where you're playing as Hawk again, and now you can take control and Hawk, derive the action forward, and it's sort of it's a very visceral kind of experience. It's a very personal kind of experience, and yet it's one where you can actually jump around in time and actually have a pretty major change on the world events over the course of a decade.
Moral choices are always very important in your games, but it's been quite obvious which one was the good and the neutral and the evil choice before. You have a new system called let me quote, the new dialogue wheel in Dragon Age 2. Will this change the obvious thing?
Well, I think one of the things we don't mind as much is actually enabling for players to understand, here's the general tenor of what you're about to say, because we give a summary of what you're about to say in this dialogue wheel, and then actually you say it, so you have a player's voice, and your Hawk, he says what he needs to say. So it isn't a bad thing if they have a good idea what they're about to do. But on the other hand, we want that to surprise and delight them still. So it's more about showing interesting consequences to every action, whether they're good, neutral, or evil. It's not every choice will be that clear. There's a lot of gray. There's a lot of shades of gray where there is no right choice. Maybe it's more forceful or delicate, and maybe that could be interpreted as evil or good. It isn't meant to be that way in all cases. Sometimes it's like, I'm going to take a powerful response and say, no, that's not going to happen, or I'm going to be a more diplomatic response to try and argue my way out of this. These are the choices you could make, and they're not good or evil necessarily, but they are interesting, and we want there to be good consequences to your actions that you feel really satisfied that you drove that result and feel like you own it, and be surprised and delighted in the process.
Players will only be able to play the human race in Dragon Age 2. Why did you make that choice?
Well, you have companion characters that join you, as they did in Dragon Age Origins and other BioWare games, and these characters will have a variety of different backgrounds, and then you're going to get a lot of diversity in that part of the experience. But for the main character, the Hawk, the protagonist you play as for the bulk of the game, along with your companion characters, Hawk is a human character because he has a preformed identity and he has a voice, and it's all pre-recorded voiceover dialogue, so he's got to be consistent with that. So that's the main part of the reason.
Well, I'm a PC player and I'm a little bit worried because you're focusing your development on the consoles. Do I need to be worried?
You don't need to be worried. BioWare, we make sure that PC is a focus on all of our games. When we release a version on a platform, we want to make sure it feels handcrafted, lovingly handcrafted, as though we have spent a lot of time making sure we've addressed the needs of the audience on each platform, and PC is no exception. So, the fact that we're doing a PC version should reassure players that you can trust that just like in every BioWare game in the past we've done PC versions, we've always tried to make sure that they feel really good and really well attuned, optimized, interface controls, just perfectly adjusted so that they have a great experience. We know the PC fans are very demanding, as are console fans, and we want to make sure that we satisfy their needs.
What is your vision for Dragon Age 2?
The vision for Dragon Age 2? Well, I mean, you could categorize it, it's the best and brightest features of Dragon Age Origins, but with a ton of improvements. And some of those improvements include graphic fidelity. You know, you can look at the game and it looks beautiful. The characters are amazing, they're fluid, the animations, the detail on them, really, really cool to watch and play. The action is immediate and visceral. You push a button and something awesome happens. And you get to think like a general but act like a Spartan. And it's got the richness and tactical depth, and yet it's an action RPG. And you can pause the game if you want to take a more thoughtful approach and kind of think through the actions and change your characters and assign careful orders to each one and then unpause. You can play it that way if you choose to, or you can kind of push it in a much more immediate, visceral, action-oriented, moment-to-moment gameplay. And another area of innovation is around the framed narrative I mentioned earlier, where you're really showing these moments in time and showing how Hawk has a big impact on how the world events unfold and change over time. But we haven't lost any of the things that fans love about Dragon Age Origins: the tactics, the depth, the story, the richness of the world, the freedom to explore. These are all things that we know they enjoyed, and we're bringing them back in spades in Dragon Age 2.
When I compare Mass Effect 1 to Mass Effect 2, it's more action-packed. Is this a change you made with Dragon Age 2 as well?
Well, I mean, I referenced already that we're trying to make this a really good game. It has a great feel when you're playing it. You enjoy actually kind of bringing the action to bear. It's really visceral. It's really immediate, and yet you haven't lost the action. You haven't lost the tactics while we're delivering that action. You have the richness and depth. You can pause, you can actually take a thoughtful approach to the action, kind of make sure that you take a measured approach to a combat encounter if you enjoy doing that kind of thing, or you can kind of rush pell-mell in and use the AI of your party and kind of swinging your sword and heads are flying off and so on. It's like it really brings that to bear as well. So it's got a nice balance of both things without losing that depth.
Well, thank you very much.
Words are dangerous, your talk is cheap. You see the